Hello, and welcome to the Great Game Debate Podcast, a show where friends come together to talk about video games and our lives. I'll be your host today, Wes Bates, and with me, as always, the godfather of the debate himself, Jonah Gomez.
Hi, I am here. I don't know why I was kind of going for a little Bane there, but it was bad, so whatever,
You
we'll roll
are
with
here, sir. Yeah, that version of Bane, I guess. Hey, I got a question for you, Jonah. Like, what was up with that last episode? Like, something to do with anime?
Yeah,
It was.
I don't know.
It's like a bad fever dream or something.
A
Like,
little bit.
were we
Yeah,
all just like high or something? What was going on with that?
I don't think drugs were involved. I think sad loneliness in a dark basement was probably the cause, and the podcast that ended up coming out was the effect. So
Yeah, well, we'll put it all behind us. With us also, everybody's favorite saucy Aussie, Stephen Beaumont.
How are we, lads?
So
I
quick,
enjoyed the fever dream, to be honest. It was
did
great.
you? Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
And I've been slowly catching up on Code Geass. So yeah, shout out to
Oh,
JB for
so he got you hooked,
setting
huh?
that up for us. Yeah, it's very good.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Quick question for you, Stephen. I know you're putting a lot of time into Elden Ring lately. What's your level at right now?
I wish I could say the nice number, but I'm at like 63. I'm getting
Oh,
there.
okay.
Almost at the
Well,
nicest number.
a few more levels, you'll get there. And then, so the question is, are you just gonna like cap it there and play the rest of the game? Like, just reserve all your runes?
That's the thing about any Souls game is the fact that like a lot of it comes down to weapon upgrades and not levels. Like, there are some pretty crazy weapons late game supposedly that have really high stat requirements, but maybe it might happen. You never know.
Well, you'll have to keep us updated on that. And joining us for the first time from the Best of the Rest podcast, the one, the only, Mr. Chris Logan. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. I am excited. Man, I'm excited to talk about Batman. It's a topic I could talk about for days, so I feel like I'm on the right episode. Thanks for having me, guys.
Chris, you're bearing the lead here, man. Like,
Oh,
come
is that
on,
not
you're
good
supposed to be
enough?
like,
I'm sure
so
someone's
much
read
for
the
the
title of this
surprise.
episode that they're listening to.
Yeah, well, we'll get there very soon. And speaking of which, I hope you stopped by the Batcave and picked up Batman's explosive gel, because it's time for the icebreaker.
I was a little late, but you get the idea.
Oh, it's all good. All right. So, Chris, for those of us that may not be familiar with you or with the Best of the Rest podcast, can you give us a little kind of intro to what Best of the Rest is and what you guys do over there?
Yeah, so on Best of the Rest, every week we're taking a second look at a comic book movie that was poorly received upon release. And we talk about it, but we challenge ourselves, me and my co-host, to only talk about the things we like, only talk about the positive. So, for example, we've covered, Ben Affleck's Daredevil, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, as well as Teenage Mutant Turtles, the first Michael Bay produced one. Movies that don't have the best reputation, but we just dig in and try to find what works, what performances stand out, what scenes are genuinely fun. And by and large, we find a lot to like. We feel like there's a lot of bad movie podcasts or shows out there that like to trash these things, and that's fine. But we want to kind of flip that on its head and be more positive focused, and that's our mission over there. We earlier today recorded an episode on Josie and the Pussycats, so it's not
wow.
always superheroes, but any comic book adaptation is fair game as long as it, like I said, it wasn't received well on first release, but it's a good time.
Yeah, I do appreciate the fact that you do keep it so positive. It's honestly just really refreshing to jump in and just hear you guys gush about the things that you really liked. That's really nice. Sorry,
yeah,
Steven.
Thank you.
Had a comment?
The one thing I remember about Josie and the Pussycats is the street side placard. They're getting people to honk their horn. If
Oh
I'm
yeah,
remembering
that says pussycats, but it's behind a
correctly.
tree, so you can't read the whole word.
Yeah,
Yeah. Classic clean humor for kids.
yeah, yeah.
I haven't seen that movie, so it'll be interesting to hear what you guys have to say about it. Um, I I have been listening to a few episodes lately just to kind of get caught up with with some of the stuff you've been doing recently, particularly your recent episode on the Batman, which honestly, having seen that movie last weekend, I listened to that show the next day, and it was a fantastic recap. You guys just go all in on that, and it was the
Awesome.
perfect
Thank you.
way to wrap my experience with that movie. It was honestly just a wonderful show.
Yeah, that's a bonus episode. Obviously, the Batman isn't poorly received, but when there's a big comic book movie release, I mean, we have a comic book podcast. It just feels appropriate to do a bonus episode on it. Like we did one for Spider-Man: No Way Home when that came out. We did the Batman. I'm sure we'll do. I don't know, Doctor Strange 2 when that comes out. So yeah, when you see a big movie like that, you want to gush about it. You want to talk with your friends about it. So we use our platform to do that, and that's great feedback. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I
Yeah,
yeah,
it was
I
good.
really like that movie.
And being a podcast focused on um comic book movies, you must have a pretty extensive history with comics, right?
Yeah, I read a fair bit. So my host name is Andrew Williams, and I refer to him as comic book expert all the time because he has like an encyclopedic knowledge of all things comic books, good ones and bad ones. Any character, you can ask him anything. He'll tell you the artist, the writer, the issue it happened in. So I'm not quite that deep, but certainly Batman. He's my guy. I've read tons of Batman comics and plenty of others. I dabble here and there. I don't read as much these days as I once did as a younger single person with a much more free time. But yeah, certainly I read. I try to keep up with comics the best I can.
Yeah, you came to the right place because I know that Steven is also a big comic enthusiast, and kind of before the show, you guys were trading back and forth your thoughts on some stuff. Steven, I don't know if you had any other
Oh,
comic
no, I got
related questions you wanted to throw to Chris.
yeah, comic related questions definitely. But also, I definitely get back on best of the rest. But comic related ones. I guess like one thing I always like. I'm interested to hear is like what's your top three? Like
Top
what
three.
do you or it doesn't have to be top three. Don't have to rank them, but like
Sure.
what are the essentials or what's at the summit for you personally?
Okay, so maybe not in order, but I'll throw a few out there that I think are like all timers. I think Ultimate Spider-Man. I think that entire run is one of the best runs in comic book history. You start with Ultimate Spider-Man #1. You get Peter Parker from the beginning, and you follow that book all the way through Miles Morales, and you have this huge, complete saga of Spider-Man, all by one writer, which is incredible. And it's one of the best Spider-Man books, one of the best comic books, like I said, one of the best runs in comic book history. So I highly recommend Ultimate Spider-Man. Uh, Batman, being my guy. I mean, he's got so many classics. It's hard to really maybe Batman Year One. Start at the beginning. Just a short, sweet. I think it's 4 issues originally, so it's a nice short graphic novel these days. Batman Year One is great, and
That
then
Mazzucchelli art.
oh, it's so good. It's so simple, but
Yeah.
effective as hell, and just goes
Yeah.
so well with Frank Miller. And Batman Hush is one of the first epic stories I read in Batman. It's mostly liked. It's got a bit of a mixed reception. Some people are a little harsher on it, but it's Jim Lee at the top of his game, who
Oh,
is, when it comes to a classic superhero look, the big bulging muscles
yeah.
and abs, he does it better than anyone. He does it in a way that feels awesome and genuine and not hokey and goofy. It's like elevated 90s comic book art. I don't know how the man does it, but the art is just gorgeous and Hush. And if you're new to comics or new to Batman, you get to see every single Batman character, his entire Bat family, almost all of his villains. You get to see everything. He fights Superman. I mean, the book has just
Yeah.
about everything in it. So Batman Hush is a big recommendation for me too.
Nice.
Definitely.
Yeah, Jim Lee's my favorite comic book artist. Has been since they rebooted X-Men back in the '90s, and he did that.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah,
At the
so
I
height of
have.
the muscles on muscles on muscles era.
If I
yeah,
can, if I can brag for a bit, I have I mean, I've got all the copies of X-Men #1, which everyone has those. It's the best-selling comic of all time. But there's 4 of them that all create one
Because it's gonna put your
picture.
kids through college.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go for a lot. No, but I do have one that is signed by Jim Lee, and then I have the first appearance of Gambit, signed by Jim Lee and
Oh, cool.
Chris Claremont. So I got a few X-Men books, issues on my wall that I'm pretty proud of.
Cool.
So if you don't like the Fox X-Men movies or any of that sort of stuff, the Fantastic Four movies, you can pretty much blame Marvel's handling of X-Men 1 because they made so many variants of that and made literally comics worth nothing. Which was the unfortunate side effect
the
that led to
90s
them
were
selling everything.
the 90s were both an awesome time for comics and a dark time for comics. It's
Yeah.
very strange decade for the for the industry for sure.
But shout out to Image Comics for literally giving
Rising
indie
from the
comics
ashes of all that
life.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah. One thing about Best of the Rest I absolutely love. I love your sections of the podcast, and one thing that just like I didn't start with episode 1. I started with one of them that you threw out. I can't even remember which one. Like I've watched like Watchmen, a few of the X-Men ones, a bunch of different ones, kind of New Mutants and stuff like that. But yeah, just the first time I heard it, and you give out the Mark Strong Award. So did that come from the first episode, and was that just a percolating idea, or was it like did it grow over time? Because like personally, like anytime Mark Strong's in a movie, he gets the Mark Strong Award. Except I also get I'd say Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Tom Hardy gets the Mark Strong Award in that film. But yeah, like
Interesting. I haven't seen Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. That doesn't surprise me though, because Tom Hardy is he's something else.
It's just got gravity around him, but at the same time, that's a really phenomenal film, by the way. Really slow paced. Yeah, how did the Mark Strong Award sort of come about and like and grow from there? Because I love that concept.
The Mark Strong Award it's entered into my everyday life. I'll see any movie or talking with friends or whatever, and it's kind of entered our vernacular. Mark Strong Award. Yeah, it's best performance. It kind of speaks for itself. But our first episode was on Green Lantern, the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern, which I had never seen until we did that episode.
Oh,
and
wow.
I found a lot to enjoy. It's not perfect, but I think it's better than its reputation. But one thing that's undeniable in that movie is Mark Strong as Sinestro. He gives just an incredible performance, just so far
100%.
above what anybody could have asked of him. What should have been just a generic good guy turns bad guy. Spoilers for Green Lantern, but he does it so well and with such gravitas, is a word that we like to use, that I guess we had an idea to give a MVP to someone every episode. So he got our MVP for that episode, but that performance kind of became the bar for who we nominated. And I think it was episode 4 or 5. I think it was like X-Men 3, which I think is our 5th episode, where we just started calling it the Mark Strong Award because that's who we're thinking of every time that we give out a Mark Strong Award or MVP of the movie. So yeah, anyone who gives a performance that elevates the quality of the entire film, we give them the Mark Strong Award.
I'm racking my brain right now. Can you remember off the dome with some spoilers for your X-Men 3 episode? Who got the Mark Strong Award in that? Because X-Men 3 it's a movie. It's definitely a movie.
That's another one that's fun to revisit. And
yeah.
The thing is, whenever these movies first come out, there's so much pressure on them. Like X-Men 1 to X-Men 2 was such a big leap. You know, they obviously got a bigger budget, more X-Men. And then X-Men 3, same thing happened with Spider-Man 3. There was so much pressure to top it and be better and better.
Yeah.
And when it's not what you're expecting, it's easy to get very negative on at the time. But revisiting X-Men 3 years later with no stakes, we know the franchise is dead now. It's been bought by Marvel. Who cares? There's a lot of fun to be had there. There's a lot of great casting, and Kelsey Grammer as Beast got my Mark Strong Award.
Yeah. That's a walk in the park.
Yeah, I can't think of anyone else.
Beast. Yeah,
exactly. The Beast that we know, like animated series, 90s Beast. Kelsey Grammer is perfect.
Yeah, that's a good call. I think you're right about that. Honestly, I saw that movie the day before I got married.
Oh,
Like
really?
we did our like our rehearsal and everything, and then everybody like split up, and it's like, what am I gonna do for the rest of the day? I go see X-Men, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I was
What
gonna
a
say like my Mark Strong award would go to like the Golden Gate Bridge.
that is an awesome set piece. But
It's like,
those X-Men movies, though, like even the not great ones, you always have Patrick Stewart as Professor Xavier
Oh,
and Ian McKellen as Magneto. I mean,
yeah,
that's just
yeah.
those
That
for all their faults. So the X-Men
yeah.
franchise has some pretty fantastic casting. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. It's one
Mm.
day we're going to see someone else as Wolverine, and they've got big claws to fill. I mean, how are you going to follow up Hugh Jackman, right?
yeah,
Famke Janssen. Like
yeah. So beyond comics, I know that you're also a pretty big wrestling fan, from
Oh
what you
yeah,
told me.
yeah, for sure. Pro wrestling is great, man. I love storytelling. Any good story, whether it's TV shows, movies, music, video games, pro wrestling. It's all it is, man. It's great storytelling.
And you mentioned to me that you like trained at a wrestling school for a while. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So that was 20. Oh man, what year was it? 2013, 2014, somewhere around there. A few years ago now. So I live here in Houston, and anybody who's follows wrestling might know that Booker T, big name in the wrestling world, is from Houston, and he has a school here. And yeah, I trained there for a while, and I got to meet a lot of cool wrestlers. I got to get in the ring with Shelton Benjamin, which is awesome, insane, cool experience. Um, if you're watching the video version of this, I'm not the biggest guy ever, but I learned a lot. I mean, I can hit the ropes, I can bump, I can tie up. I never had aspirations to like be on TV or anything, but I kind of wanted to see what this is all about and learn, appreciate the art and craft more, and I certainly did.
Yeah, that's what I guess what I was trying to understand was like if you had like real aspirations to, you know, for like a wrestling career, or if you just kind of wanted to understand it better, being a fan of it, or yeah, and
Mainly that. I mean, Booker has a local promotion out here in Houston, so it would have been nice to maybe make my way onto that show. But after I have to go back and see. Maybe 6 months. I don't know how long I was training, but I got pretty beat up. And then
mm,
I had some issues from that were lingering. And then I lost my job at one point, so it didn't make a
mm,
lot of sense to spend money on it. And I quickly found another job, and I did fine. But I didn't go back. It was hard to kind of fit back into my life. But it was a great experience. Good time. Not a lot of
yeah,
people can say that they've gotten an actual wrestling ring and wrestled an actual match and gone through the paces. So I'm pretty
yeah,
proud of that.
yeah, no,
for
I can't.
sure. I was
Sorry,
I
go
was
ahead.
I'm still very short. But like yeah, I was a small kid but very wiry, and like I really loved like yeah, novice gymnastics and stuff. So there was a few people that were really into wrestling and stuff, and like just getting into high school, I was like happily the person to get stone cold stunned because I just loved like throwing myself around. But then like after you do it like 5 times in a row, your back just starts to hurt.
You feel
Like
it, yeah. I mean, it's people like to say it's fake, and I get what they're saying when they say it, but they're essentially these are stuntmen
there's
kicking the
so much going
crap out of
on.
themselves.
Like I like as another short king, like I was like a massive Rey Mysterio stan just because of the
Hell yeah.
just the athleticism, the flips, the spins. Like I just love all of the rope work is like my favorite part. Like I never had like cable TV to watch wrestling, but my auntie was super into it. So whenever we went over there, she had all the toys, and she always had it on, and she had freaking
That's a cool auntie, man.
Kane and Undertaker posters on her wall and stuff like that. Like, yeah, she's a really cool auntie.
That's awesome.
So I had one more question. Jonah, did you have anything for Chris before?
Kind of.
Okay,
So,
go ahead.
God, back around like 2013, 2014, when the CW show Arrow was on, Stephen, oh God, what is his name?
Stephen Amell.
Stephen Amell
Mhm.
he's a big wrestling fan, and he had that whole thing with Stardust. Did you see like that match and everything that was going on?
Yeah, he was at WrestleMania actually.
Yeah.
He had a WrestleMania match. Yeah,
That
it was for an actor, for someone who's not a pro wrestler. He did some impressive stuff.
Yeah,
So
he
he
did
had a
some
few
impressive
spots there.
stuff.
I mean,
That was like the first time that I ever got into wrestling. Is I saw that and I was like, "Yo, my boy!" And then they brought him in, and Stardust is just standing in front of him, and he's mocking him, and he just jumps over the barrier and starts beating the crap out of him. I thought that was so awesome.
yeah, I mean they do that around WrestleMania
Yeah.
for that exact reason, to get it's people like you,
Yeah.
Jonah, to watch watch wrestling. Rob Gronkowski a couple of years ago had a big WrestleMania moment, so they, try to get some new eyes on the product. And WWE, it's a. What did you think about it? As someone who doesn't watch wrestling, you watched his match and sort of maybe an episode or two or whatever. Did you think like this is goofy, but I like my guy, or what was kind of your thoughts on pro wrestling?
I thought it. I mean, I've always thought wrestling was a little goofy, and the thing and now that I'm an adult, I like understand why people enjoy the goofy nature of it. But when I was a kid, I never understood why people got so into it. And I mean, I sat there and I liked like video games and stuff, and it's like you said, it's like very similar. It's just storytelling, but I never understood it because there's a giant buff dude wearing underwear running around in some big boots. So
how else can you see his muscles?
So I never understood it. I just thought it was a little weird. But after I got to see like somebody that I knew of hop into the ring and actually go at it, I was like, oh wow, this takes some serious talent, first off. But yeah, some of the storytelling, it's very exciting, and it was fun to watch.
Isn't it funny that you can be like, isn't it? And I get it. You're like, it's goofy. It's a big muscle guy, and he's wearing underwear. That's so silly. Anyway, let's talk about the guy that dresses up like an 8-foot bat and flies around the city. Like that makes so much more sense, right?
It's a perfect segue. I like it.
Yeah. So just one last question. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you made a comment on Twitter the other day, and I just have to kind of like learn a little bit more about what you were talking about here. You made a comment about you've seen John Cena in the nude like more often than you care to admit. Do you care to
it's not anything weird. I'm not stalking the guy, but he's always getting naked. I don't know if you've ever seen Trainwreck, but he's ass naked in that. I just started watching Peacemaker. I'm a little bit behind on that, but great show. I'm like halfway through already, but he's been naked a couple times. You see that? I've seen a lot of that man. And it just seems like he's always taking his clothes off in his movies. That's all. I've seen a lot of John Cena movies, and he's always getting naked. And I wouldn't say I was happy about it, but I didn't. I
must have missed those movies, thankfully. But no, thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to our next segment. Let's jump over to the debate.
All right, guys. As Chris hinted earlier, let's talk a little Batman Arkham. Ooh. Today we have our good friend Chris Logan representing Batman Arkham Asylum versus Stephen Beaumont representing the sequel, Batman Arkham City. I almost said Asylum again.
Had to think about that.
I had to think about that one. And so Chris, I don't know if you've listened to the show before, but the rules are we have 2 minutes for each section. You got your 2-minute opening statement, 2-minute rebuttal, and then your 2-minute closing thoughts. You also have Wes as a one-time use 30-second assist trophy. You just call on him when you need to, and he will boost your point, or he'll start attacking for you. He's your assist trophy, whatever you need.
Yeah, I play Smash Bros. He breaks out of the glass, and he does my bidding.
Yeah, exactly.
Bust right through your computer screen. That's it.
Terrifying.
With that being said, Chris, would you like to start the debate or close it out?
I think I want to start it. I think I want
Okay.
to get this ball going.
Let's get the ball a-rolling. Chris, we got 2 minutes on the clock. Are you ready, sir?
I am ready.
3, 2, 1, debate.
Here's how it is. Arkham Asylum changed the game. Before 2009, you expected a superhero game to be bad, but you were pleasantly surprised if it was at least decent or playable. Because for every Spider-Man 2, there was like a dozen Superman 64s. Batman Arkham Asylum raised the bar for licensed video games. Instead of simply taking superheroes and throwing them into a video game formula, Arkham Asylum crafts a comic book narrative of its own and creates a story just as compelling as any great Bat book. And that's just on the storytelling level. Let's not forget how the game revolutionized video game combat across all genres with its simple but satisfying free flow system. Arkham Asylum created new expectations for comic book video games. We aren't surprised when Guardians of the Galaxy or Insomniac Spider-Man games are fantastic, because it's what we expect in a post-Arkham Asylum world. And that's the thing about changing the game. You can only do it once. Michael Jordan will always be the greatest player in basketball because he elevated the entire sport. The only thing players after him can do is match his greatness, but they will never be the pioneer. Batman Arkham Asylum is the Michael Jordan of superhero video games. It is a linear, efficient, effective story, unlike its bloated sequel.
30 seconds.
Like the very game itself, I will not overstay my welcome after making my point, and I surrender my remaining time.
Woo, leaving 20 seconds on the table.
Expletive.
That was an excellent opening
Toy
statement.
Jonah. Holy
that.
Oh man, I was awake for 24 hours yesterday from 2 till 2.
Oh, we starting with excuses? Is that
and
what you're saying? What is this?
I don't know how long you wrote that script, but this is all dome, baby. This is gonna be fun.
I am just constantly thinking about Batman. This isn't a hard mode for me to get into. I love Batman. I love this game. Let's go. Let's do this.
Wow, that was a very strong opening statement. Holy cow, Steven. I guess we heard how you're feeling. So, are you ready, sir, for your opening thoughts?
Yeah, I'm actually. I was just falling in love with the storytelling. Like,
I know.
Yeah.
Who knew Arkham Asylum is the Michael Jordan of video games? All right, Steven, you got 2 minutes on the clock. Ready, set, go.
All right, so we're already starting out with Arkham Asylum is the Michael Jordan of video games. Well, let me explain to you why the Kobe Bryant of video games, Arkham City, is ostensibly better. This game gave the world the chance to look and see how rich Batbooks are, how rich the Rogues Gallery is. Arkham Asylum is a very safe game. Arkham City just gives you so many more characters, and they're not throwaway. You have amazing characters like Harsh, like Deadshot. Again, this is all off the dome. You've still got your returning heroes, villains, like Harley Quinn, Joker, Clayface. Oh my god. You've got Ra's al Ghul, which is where I learned how to say Ra's al Ghul. Thanks, Batman Begins, for ruining that for me. But this game just has so many characters. They're so well done. Mad Hatter is in this game, and it's amazing. The fight with Mr. Freeze is one of the best video game bosses of all time. It is just amazing how they just took this concept of a Metroidvania in 3D and just expanded it into an open world that is dense with stuff to do, and it makes sense for the world. It's this open area of prisoners and villains, and Batman's going in there to take take advantage, and you get to play as Catwoman, which is also amazing, and the stuff you get to do as Catwoman. You get a choice that is obviously a controlled choice, but you still have the option to take the money and run or help Batman, and it's just phenomenal.
Time. Very good, Steven. Very good. Chris, how are you feeling after Steven's opening statements? You ready to come back with your rebuttal?
Look, he made some good points. I agree with some of those points. Does it elevate the game over Asylum? No. And I will tell you why. Let me know when the clock is ready.
2 minutes on the clock. Ready, set, go.
All right. Well, this is a classic debate. Tell me if you've heard this before. Quality over quantity. You are absolutely right. There is probably more villains mentioned, more characters, more Easter eggs in Arkham Asylum because it is a larger game, but I would call that a more bloated game. And here's the issue.
You said Arkham Asylum, so you just said that your game's bloated.
Arkham City. Here's the thing. I can't argue with that. I'm on the clock here. Arkham Asylum's greatest strength is its storytelling. Paul Dini of Batman the Animated Series fame, along with a lot of the voice cast in that show, changed how we experience narratives in these types of games. And that element is exactly what is missing in Arkham City. They sacrificed tight storytelling for an open world. Ask yourself, what's the story of Arkham Asylum? Joker allows himself to be captured. He gets taken to Arkham. He springs his master plan. He sends Batman through a supervillain gauntlet from hell that ends with a showdown between Joker on Bane juice against Batman. Awesome. That's the story. It's great. What's the story of Arkham City? Well, it's in Gotham City, but not really. Hugo Strange is the main bad guy. Oh, no, wait. Actually, it's the Joker. Oh, actually, no, wait. It's Ra's al Ghul. Wait, he's dead. It's back to being the Joker again. They sacrificed having a great narrative for segments and fragments that don't build up to a compelling whole, and it takes place in a gray, lifeless, boring environment.
That it?
That's it. I'll end it there.
Leaving 20 seconds on the table again. Steven, your opponent's got some serious confidence in his debate this week. How are you feeling, man?
I'm still feeling really good.
All right.
I got some flames to spit.
Okay. Well, let's bring those flames, man. 3, 2, 1, debate.
First of all, I'll just pop that assist trophy and let's hear what the worst parts about Arkham Asylum are from Wes.
All right.
Wes, so it was mentioned already, but let's talk just for a second about the final boss fight for Arkham Asylum. It was honestly laughably bad. It was so honest. I mean, like, Joker, but he's not Joker. He's more like Bane. He's just a big, bulky dude that has really, like, nothing to do with the traditional Joker. He looks terrible. It's a bad fight. Like, for such an amazing game, that was such a bad way to end it, in my opinion.
Time. All right, Steven, 2 minutes. Ready, set, go.
Yeah. You know what? You know what game has a really good Joker fight? Arkham City, baby. You actually get to have a fight with the Joker, and he gives you the freaking the hand zap, handshake. It's just amazing. Yeah, it is a joke how they ended Batman Arkham Asylum, but it was absolutely saved by my bad boy Arkham City with the storyline that goes with the Joker and how we are brought along on this ride, seeing a deformed Joker, then seeing a clean-faced Joker, and then getting back to the theater where you watched the Mask of Zorro and meeting Clayface, and oh my god, really cool revelation, amazing fight, and it's just, and then obviously the end scene, like, of Batman carrying the Joker out to the police is just so ingrained in my mind. Arkham Asylum just doesn't have those moments. It's, as I said, it's a good Metroidvania game, but it just doesn't have those super heavy emotional beats, because this one brings in the Bat family. You get You get hints of Azrael. Like, there's just so much more to uncover. And when you're saying it's an empty, bland, grey
30 seconds.
world, like, I got to put a rose down in Crime Alley. Like, that was something. That was so special to me, and like, I'll never forget that. So I'm not gonna have to diss too much of the fights, but yeah, a lot of the fights came down to you fighting another Bane clone in Arkham Asylum, and Arkham City has so many revolutionized fights. That'll do.
Okay, leave 3 seconds on the table. All right, Chris. Just a reminder, you still have your assist trophy. We've got 2 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, let's kick off with an assist trophy.
All right. Wes, you got 30 seconds. Are you ready, sir?
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1, begin.
So Chris has made some excellent points. Pretty much everything I totally agree with. I feel like Arkham Asylum is bloated. Let's talk about Batman's got a big
City
task.
Is bloated.
Sorry,
Arkham City is bloated.
Arkham City is bloated. Sorry, Batman's got a big thing he's got to do. But wait, he's got to help Bane find Titan containers. But wait, he's got to
10 seconds.
talk to Zaz on the phone. But wait, he's got to find Mr. Freeze's wife. But wait, he's got to, wait, what's he doing? I don't know, because it's all over the place.
Time. All right, Chris, you got 2 minutes. Ready, set, go.
People love to bring up the final fight in Arkham Asylum, and I'm not even going to argue against that if it's not for you, but the game does have variety. It does build up with the Bane fights and the Titan. It builds up to that final fight, and maybe you don't like the Joker there, but let's not forget about Killer Croc in the sewers, which is unlike any other fight in that game. Let's not forget about Scarecrow, the very first time you come across that. Not only is that one of the most original boss fights that you've ever come across up until that point, that totally changes how the game is played, but talk about emotional. There's no emotional moments in Arkham Asylum. Are you kidding me? You are literally turned back into a young boy walking down Crime Alley after you've lost your parents. At the time, the first time you're playing that video game, if you can take yourself back there to 2009, you don't know what's going on. You don't know that you're under the influence of the fear toxin, and you think the game might be breaking. Like, what is happening as the asylum falls apart around you? And you go through your, as Bruce Wayne, darkest moments in your life, losing your parents. And you have to overcome that fear in a physical video game way by defeating the Scarecrow. And that marriage of emotion and gameplay, it happened in Arkham Asylum before it ever happened in City for the second time. Where does City go from there? It just does the Scarecrow moments again. You can only
30 seconds.
There's only a first time for everything. Arkham Asylum laid the foundation, and City stood on its shoulders and did not innovate in a significant way to rise above Asylum. Everything great about City was building on what was already there in Arkham Asylum.
Ooh.
I can end it there.
Leaving 10 seconds on the table. It's almost left an entire segment of the pitch on the table. Or, I mean, the debate on the table. Jeez.
Quality over quantity.
Oh. All right, Steven. You ready to close out the show?
I am.
All right.
Gunshot. Sorry. Go.
Ready? Set. Go.
Gunshot rings out in a courthouse. What does Batman do? He analyzes the scene. He becomes a detective. This is not just detective vision and looking at enemies that are spooked or hiding in the shadows. This is reconstructing a crime scene and following the clues to solve this mystery, this massive, absolute puzzle box that is Arkham City. It's too much for one person, which is why we see Tim Drake show up at different moments, which is why we see Azrael. There are more players in this game because the city is so big, and Batman understands this. That's why he has the Bat family. Arkham Asylum does not have the Bat family. And also Arkham City has Bruce Wayne, which is still one of the most phenomenal scenes when you enter Arkham City and you're getting pelted and you're getting called names, and then you fight the Penguin as Bruce Wayne, and then you get up on top of Ace Chemicals and you get your bat suit on, and you pop your first trophy that says I am Batman. And if you didn't smile when that happened, oh my god, like that was just such a jolly moment. And then you get to glide all over the city,
30
and
seconds.
It's just like, oh my god, this is something new. This is something I've never done before, but I've always wanted to do. And it just expanded the world so much. I just love this game so much. I don't know what else I can say about it. The Mr. Freeze fight is just amazing. Having to utilize different things, and that's the perfect Batman versus this person. No, no prep time. Like, who wins? It's like, Batman, baby.
Time. All right, dude. This was such a fun debate. This was so fun, Chris. Thank you. You brought the heat, man. I've never had.
I brought the explosive gel. That was the goal.
Gel. I've never
Steven
seen.
makes a good point.
I've never seen him on his
Batman
toes
wins.
this much in a debate, though. Okay.
I like that point though. That I'm trying to make a nice. Hang on. You said no matter. You said Batman wins because no matter who wins our debate, Batman wins. It's a great Batman game versus a great Batman game.
Yeah.
Batman fans are spoiled. It's a wonderful time to be a Batman game.
Oh, yeah.
This is great. I love it. Thanks for having me on. This is so much fun.
Yeah. The only thing
But
you didn't
Asylum is
bring
better.
up, the only thing you didn't bring up is the Hideo Kojima like crash, like the game crash. Like, I know you brought up the Scarecrow.
The Scarecrow.
but
Yeah.
That is one of the coolest like video game moments for sure. And like I completely like my mind completely blanked on the Scarecrow scene. Like the Scarecrow scene is just all in all.
Yeah, or when
phenomenal.
you replay the intro of the game, but they're switched. Joker is taking Batman into Arkham.
Yeah.
Man, I need to replay Arkham Asylum now talking about it.
Yeah,
I've played it a lot, but it's been a
I've
while.
played both of those games through twice. They're both absolutely phenomenal. I love Metroidvania games, and it's like my second favorite, like 3D Metroidvania, like to Metroid Prime. But like, they're both just so good. But yeah,
I've never even thought about it as a Metroidvania, but you're totally right, and that is one of my Super Metroid favorite game of all time. So it's definitely one of my favorite genres. So that makes a lot of sense that I'm drawn to Asylum in that way.
yeah,
All right.
And like the Poison Ivy fight is really good. I like that. Yeah.
All right.
So many
Well, let's get to some of the results. I'm gonna kick it off to Wes. How did you feel about this debate, man?
This is, I think, genuinely one of our best debates. I honestly think, Chris, your debate defending Arkham Asylum was almost point for point. Like I was coming up with, I have like a whole sheet that I was trying to come up with like talking points for the assist trophy, and you hit almost every one of them in your debate. It was so clean and so strong. And Steven, I think you did an absolutely wonderful job representing City, but I have to give it to Chris. I mean, he really nailed it home. Like he said, it really was just a quality, just very straightforward, excellently delivered debate. So great job.
Can we just invoke a technical for future episodes going forward? No one's allowed to invoke Michael Jordan when referring to a video game. It's unfair. That's how do I come back from that?
All right. Yeah, like honestly, I've played a little bit of both these games, so I don't really have a bias towards either. I didn't beat either of them, but I have played a similar amount of both. But good lord, like this is a very tough decision because you guys both brought really good points, but the one that really stuck out for me the most was Chris saying quality over quantity, because what I did play of Asylum, he's right, it is just like story, with like the perfect amount of action and like stealth sequences mixed in, whereas City, it does struggle from that open world nature that a lot of games do suffer from, where it's like the story's a little bit more stretched out because the world's stretched out, and they try to fill it in with, oh look, there's just bad guys roaming around, so you go beat them up. Granted, while the combat is really good, I like that story aspect a little bit better, so I think my my vote is gonna go towards Chris on this one. But
Yeah,
Steven,
sure.
excellent job, my friend. You did great.
Like I said, like I got lost in that intro. That was just like, oh, that was beautiful poetry. Like I said, the one thing I really love about I know everyone says like just all games have open world bloat. The coolest thing about Arkham City is the fact that like you see the different factions, like because obviously there's the mob bosses. You've got Black Mask isn't in Arkham City, but like you've got Two-Face and you've got Joker and you've got Penguin, and you get to see like their areas. It was like this cool evolution of like San Andreas and having like different territories and stuff. So like I really like, because that's a thing. Like a lot of open worlds just feel thrown together and just like, yeah, there's some enemies here and there's some enemies here, and we're gonna have, this is the snow area and this is, but it felt like they were distinct while still just being a city that's run down and stuff. It's it did that really well. Obviously, two things we both didn't bring up. I think I didn't bring up the stupidity of like, what is it? Friggin' Blackgate's under renovation, so all of the prisoners are here at Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, the whole setup for that game is a bit odd.
Yeah, and then
to justify being the city but not the full city, it's strange.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Yeah, sorry, we'll move on.
With that, we'll get into last week's Fever Dream. Last week's Fever Dream Roundup is what I'll call it. And we got our winner 5-4. It was very close. Luffy took it with 5 points. Congratulations, Zach. You won the debate for last week. And you know what? With that, I think we'll move on to the pitch.
All right, we're back from our break, and that means that it's time for the pitch, where we give sales pitches to the rest of the panel, trying to sell each other on games we've been enjoying lately. First up to the pitcher's mound is Jonah Gomez, going to pitch us a game probably nobody's ever heard of before. No. But yeah, why don't you tell us about it?
All right. So this is going to be a different take of a pitch, because I'm pitching a game that I thought I wasn't going to be into, which I'm really happy I am. We're going to be talking about Elden Ring, and I've said it many times on this show. I am not the biggest fan of From games. I think they're the controls aren't the best, and the combat and the controls aren't the best, and it's not for me. And I think the combat is just too brutally hard, and you just get like, you just keep hitting walls and there's no way around it. Elden Ring is different. This game takes all of that stuff that you like in a From game, the brutal combat, the really awesome character designs, and the deep, rich lore that you love from all the From games, and then it throws in the exploration of Breath of the Wild. You're always running around looking. There's not like a map that's telling you where to go, other than like a couple lines coming off your grace points or bonfires. But it's got that rich exploration and discovery of a game like Skyrim. You go into an area and you're wondering what's going on. There's
30 seconds.
new enemy types around every corner, over every ledge. You're always going to be finding something brand new. So I'm really loving Elden Ring, mainly for just getting on my horse and riding around, and then I'll save questions for the rest.
All right.
Go ahead,
Go
Steve.
ahead.
I've got a couple questions, but I'll ask this nice softball first. Let's talk about cosplaying in Elden Ring and how how that can make your game more enjoyable.
I mean, with the amount of customization there is in this game, it's really easy to design your character from the get-go in the way you want, or you can completely build a character up to do a build. So one thing I've noticed in this game is it feels like From went very anime heavy with a lot of its designs. There's a lot of references to stuff like Berserk. I've seen many of people make Bleach characters, or myself included made Zoro from One Piece, and you gave the guy green hair. It was funny. Caden, rest his soul. He's been lost in the Elden Ring and traveling at the same time. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's put in like 100 hours or something crazy like that. But he saw my character, and Chris, I think you might like this. He's like, Jonah, I like your guy's hair. I like the green hair. Is that Jared Leto Joker? And
Wonderful.
so no longer is my character Zoro. He is now Jared Leto Joker. But yeah, the customization for just the characters is has been really fun. I've seen people just make some of the most insane stuff. I saw somebody paint their character completely blue and then get like a rolling ability that gave them lightning, and they were Sonic. So I mean,
Well, the obvious question is, can you be Batman in Elden Ring?
I haven't found like a Batman cowl, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a helmet that is bat shaped, because there's definitely a lot of cloaks. And I mean, if you kind of think about Batman, he's kind of got like some sort of like medieval look with his greaves and stuff, and the spikes coming off of him. I'm sure you could find something like something to represent a medieval Batman.
What would
At
Batman's
least Batman
weapon
Ninja.
be
You can definitely do that.
Yeah, what would Batman's weapon be in Elden Ring?
I feel like you just have to like do throwing items and kind of be like batarangs or something.
I mean, he's used swords before. It's not that crazy for Batman to wield a sword.
But
Just
what kind of
non-lethal
sword?
blows.
Yeah, so much for Batman not killing people, killing people left and right in that game.
I'm super interested in Elden Ring because I've never played a From game, and all I've known about them, everybody loves talking about how difficult they are. Like, it's so challenging, and I'm fine with challenging games. I beat Cuphead, that was great.
Oh, okay.
But to me, they always talk like the challenge is the appeal, and I'm not into a game just because it's challenging. But everything I've heard about Elden Ring,
I'm right there with you.
with the exploration aspect, sounds like it might be something I want to try. But here's my specific question. I personally am not into like Middle Earth fantasy, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones stuff, and this seems like it's very much in that world. Is it still for me, possibly, or might be turned off by some story I don't care about?
Well, see, the thing with the story is it still does like the Dark Souls and From game storytelling, where it's not like super heavy on the storytelling. If you want to get what's going on, you gotta read flavor text on items and stuff, and you gotta kind of dig through the lore to figure out what's going on. I see a lot of these games as like gameplay first, world second, enemy design third, and then you'll like go down the list and maybe the story's at the bottom, with lore still being like kind of high up there. So like it doesn't have like an out there story. Granted, it does have more of a story than past From games, but it's not like the prevalent part of the game.
Gameplay can carry you through if you're
Yeah.
into the gameplay and exploration. All right. I'm gonna have to play this game. I can tell. Okay.
The nice thing is with other From games is you go to they're pretty linear. You go to an area, you have to beat the boss to progress. In this game, you go to the first boss, he's gonna kick your ass a dozen times, and a lot of people just get mad and throw their controller down, say I'm not playing this game, but you shouldn't do that. Try going in a completely different direction. Try fighting some other enemies that are a little bit stronger than you. Figure out their patterns, take them out, get enough runes to level yourself up, level up 10, 15 levels. Don't grind, just go explore until you're 10, 15 levels higher, then go back to that boss and just whoop him. Absolutely destroy him. And there's so many different ways you can play this game. I'm playing with dual katanas and not blocking. It's just all dodge and attack. You can go.
Oh man, you can play as Leonardo from Ninja Turtles.
Oh, absolutely. Awesome. I've seen people get like a turtle shell. They a turtle shell shield. They paint their characters green. They run around with like the eye bands, and there's like dual bladed swords, and they're running around as Donatello, or they got dual daggers. They're repping Raphael. Like, it's cool. The only thing you can't do is be Michelangelo, because there's no nunchucks, which is sad. I think this game would probably be the next step up if it had nunchucks. The ultimate dex weapon.
Well, I mean, how far into the game are you at this point?
I don't know, man. I'm like, okay,
there very well could be nunchucks.
There
right?
very well could be. I get to the end. I get to a new area, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm at like the final area, and then I get to another area, and that's happened probably 10 times.
How many hours do you have in, do you think?
45.
That's a good amount.
And
yeah. So
yeah.
So my question for you is, like, really, I know that there are additional systems kind of tacked on, but overall the combat is really kind of base Dark Souls style combat.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. From what I've heard, it's pulled like almost directly from Dark Souls 3.
Right. And so I know that you are not, or previously were not, a fan of that, but you seem to be really having fun and getting engaged. So having gotten used to that, played for 45 hours, like, are you engaged enough? Are you enjoying it enough that you feel like it's worthwhile to go, like, you'd be interested to go back to some of the older From games like Dark Souls 3, or is just the sheer exploration really what's holding you in on this?
So every time I'm at work, every time I'm away from my PC, like, Elden Ring is always on my mind. And that is like something that I never thought I'd say, because like I wasn't part of the hype train like everyone else we know. The exploration is so good in this game. Like, I felt like I was sitting on the floor in my old apartment playing Breath of the Wild for the first time again. Like, just my mind being blown. I run up and it's like, oh, I can go get a new map fragment, and you grab it and you're like, oh good lord, there's so much more. I thought it was only going to give me like a square inch of space, and it ended up giving me like 20. And so it's like, okay, well, I got to go check out what's over there. That looks like a huge castle. Let's go in. Absolutely get destroyed, but I'm having fun getting absolutely wrecked by it. So I mean, I don't quite understand why I'm like so into it, but I'm having fun. Another thing is, this game has a horse with a double jump. I mean, it's awesome. The double jump sound is really cool too. this game has a jump, which is nice because it's easy to do jump attacks and they do a lot more damage. And like I played Dark Souls 3, like I beat that first boss. We did like a giveaway for it. It was a challenge and I beat that boss. I just wasn't having fun because I don't know, I felt like it was too grounded. This game feels a lot less grounded, and like this game, you can cheese stuff in this game, but it's a mechanic. They want you to cheese in this game. They want you to just play the way you want to play, whereas other From games felt like, oh, you have to go strength build all the way, great sword, no shield, max poise. Who cares if you're fat rolling? Just take the hit and beat the boss. This game, it's like, dude, I'm like at the same hour count as a buddy of mine, and we've done completely. It's like we're playing two different games. It's
I like your
insane.
impression of the internet, of people of the internet.
Accurate.
Yeah. So I won't like ramble on more, but as someone who doesn't really like From games, I'm absolutely loving this game, and I don't need to go to previous From games because I know I'll have a good time with this one.
Just a final question. What because of the open world nature, because you can recheck in with bosses that are beating you down. Like, can you describe how it does feel though? Like, because I personally think it's different from other video games of finally beating a boss that's killed you 10, 15 times.
You know, it's like that feeling of you put on a jacket that you haven't worn in a very long time, and you reach in your pocket and you find like $5 or a $10 bill, and you're like, yes, sweet, now I don't have to worry about lunch. Or, you know, you lock your keys in the car, but you kind of left your window down enough so you can kind of just squeeze your arm through, and then you finally unlock the door and you get in, and that sense of relief because you don't have to fight that boss anymore. That's kind of what it feels like.
Perfect.
All right. Anybody else have any other questions about Elden Ring before we make our decision? So it sounds like Chris, you may be the least in on Elden Ring at this point. So what do you think, based on Jonah's pitch? Are you interested in getting this game and trying it out, or no?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I've believe it or not, he's not the first person I've heard talk about Elden Ring. A lot of people say
Really?
you're talking about this game. Yeah, it's it's trending in some places, but it no, I definitely appreciate. I mean, one of my biggest concerns, like I said, was like just knights and castles and dragons isn't my thing, but a good game's a good game. Good gameplay is good gameplay. And the Breath of the Wild comparisons, I mean, I sunk 200 hours in Breath of the Wild, maybe more. And so much like I don't even care about beating Ganon in that game. So much of it is just like, what's over that mountain, or what's on the how far can I go in the snow without dying, or what am I gonna come across? I mean, just the sense of exploration was God. I love that game. So if it is even like a fraction of that feeling from Breath in the Wild, I feel like it's something I owe it to myself to play. I have to play. Usually with AAA games that I'm kind of like about, I'll wait for maybe it's on PS Plus or a big sale down the road. But I don't know. Maybe I'll cough up some dough and hop on the Elden Ring train sooner than that.
And if you're worried about it, maybe if you've got a friend who's beaten it or whatever, just try it out, because that's what I did with Caden. Is he shares a Steam library with me, so I was able to put 5-6 hours into it, and then I was like, okay, his Steam library like just wasn't letting me play anymore, and I was like, okay, I'll drop the $60, and like I bought it on the spot. I just bought it right there. I was like, I got to support the devs, because they poured their heart and soul into this game. It's got flavors of every single of their past games into it. I had to drop the 60 on it, and I really liked it. But if you're still on the fence,
awesome.
Try and find somebody that'll let you like test the game out first.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Steven, I know you've been playing it already, but you have any comments?
No, yeah, definitely. Just want to say on your concerns with like the fantasy aspect, it is technically a high fantasy, like a dark high fantasy, but it's every single Souls game is post-apocalyptic. Like literally, it's always like the title Final Fantasy. It's always like at the end of like the lifespan of wherever it is. So the monstrosities you see, like it starts out, yeah, knights and dragons, and it's like, yeah, knights and dragons are cool or whatever. If you're not into them, that's fine. If you just turn down a dark alley, like, or if you know, it might be crime alley for you. You see some wild shit in From games that like disturb me, and it can be a horror game, it can be especially a body horror game for sure, and it's just so creative. You've never, like, I'm sure there is an example, but like other than an RPG like Pokemon, there are not more enemies variety in any other game.
No.
Like, it is insane.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So you'll have to, let us know how your Batman role play through Elden Ring goes when you
Oh,
get
That's
to
my
it.
also,
goal.
Also, you can be
Yeah.
Wolverine, and he has the berserker like slash. Like, you have three
Oh,
blades
yeah.
coming off of you, and it literally has the berserker like cross slash.
That's
Ah,
pretty
it's
cool.
so cool.
That's pretty cool. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can easily be Wolverine in this game.
Yeah.
Nice. I bought this game. I have been holding off on playing it because I've been trying to finish the game that I am going to pitch in the next segment. But yeah, I'm totally sold. I've been sold. Jonah didn't tell me anything that is putting me off of this game. It's only kind of like, making me drool more. I feel my saliva running. It's gonna start dribbling down my chin any second. Yeah, no, it's I'm totally in. So, well done, Jonah.
Wes,
I'm glad that even though we're like 6 games in, that you finally jumped in on a fun game that you liked. So
Yeah.
Wes is also the master of patience, I guess. He's been waiting for years for this game to come out, and he's been hyped for it ever since it got announced, and he's still waiting. So
it's
good
loaded.
on you.
It's loaded. It's loaded on the PS5. It's ready to go. I may start tonight. I was up until 3 a.m. finishing up what I was playing before last night. So we'll see how much stamina I have left for that. But,
Ooh.
yeah.
Oh, I recommend playing it on console because, yes, it runs well on PC, but there are like hiccup bugs and it hitches a little bit. So play it on console because, Steven, you're playing it on the Series S and it runs like a dream, correct?
Yeah, like I'm on a Series S, so it just runs at 30, and I haven't had any issues. I was running along, and I had my first ever visual bug, which like I just saw like a random like rock just like pop up on my screen for a second and disappear. That's the only like technically bug I've had. Other than, yeah, AI every now and again might forget what it's actually meant to be doing, but it's
Maybe
very
it was a
rare.
magic rock. Maybe it wasn't a glitch.
Yeah.
Maybe it was supposed to just pop up like that.
So yeah, my
right.
recommendation, play it on console.
Sounds good. Thanks for the rec. Okay, so I will be stepping up to the pitcher mound next. Somebody time me.
I got you.
Thank you.
3, 2, 1, play ball.
Okay, it's always nice to see a series grow and expand, and just evolve in the best way possible. From its initial entry into its sophomore outing. We saw such great things with Assassin's Creed 2. We saw a huge evolution in Uncharted 2, and we see a similar great evolution in Horizon Forbidden West, which is a game that I sunk 55 hours of my life into, and I have absolutely no regrets. It was a game that pulled me out of a serious rut that I was in for months. And everything in this game just takes what the first game did right expands on it and takes what the first game did wrong and makes it even better. The traversal in this game is infinitely better. It's not a Breath of the Wild. You're not going to be able to climb up every cliffside, but if you want to get up somewhere, you can get up there. You just have to look around a little bit, and it doesn't take very long before you can figure out a way to climb your way up. The enemy design in this is brilliant. I can't even imagine how much time and effort and love, just absolute love, went into crafting these machines that you battle. It's
30
almost
seconds.
Thank you. It's almost Monster Hunter level, taking these things down in the strategy. The combat adds so many more elements, both in the melee combat and in using your traps and your weapons. It adds more weapons. It's visually gorgeous. It's like one of the best looking games I've ever played in my life. And it's a real transformative experience for the Horizon series. So
Very nice.
I'll jump off. There's multiple things I want to ask, but definitely the first one would be, I've heard a lot about the fact that the melee combat has
that was
been
gonna be my main
vastly
question.
improved. Because I literally don't remember ever using it other than to, like, you could take over the little dinos and stuff, the stalkers or whatever they were. In the first game. It was literally bow versus dinosaur, the game, and that was cool. Like, can you explain what they've done to the combat? Like,
yeah,
do we have
so
combos? What's
so
going on?
they've added a combo system, and the combos, there's a, in the skill tree, there's like 6 divisions of the skill tree now, and one of those divisions is specific for what I think it's called warrior combat or melee combat, and within that, there's not only combos that you open up in that skill tree, but also specific skills that you'll open up for use in melee combat. For instance, one of the skills that you use, it allows you, if you start building a combo, you'll see like your spear start to glow, like this energy's building on your spear, and if you hit the enemy with a heavy attack, it infuses that enemy with that energy, and if you hit them with an arrow, it deals explosive damage to the enemy. And so you can just like start beating on a guy and then whack him with a heavy attack, and then and he just explodes.
That's so
and it's
sweet.
awesome. You can do things like you can jump over the top of an enemy and shoot him from the back, kind of like Batman jumping over the top of an enemy and hitting them from behind. There's just such a huge expansion in the tool set of what Aloy has to use. I think there's only one weapon that didn't make a return from the last game, which is the Rattler, but they've added this sweet gauntlet. It's like a glaive that you throw out, and it's almost like it hits the enemies, and then it boomerangs back. You catch it, and you throw it again, and it does additional damage every time you catch it until you throw it 3 times. When you throw it the 3rd time and it hits, it explodes. And so that's a cool weapon that they added. There are new skills that you can use pretty much for every weapon that make them really individual. There's a lance you can throw now that's like an explosive lance. So you throw it, and then it's like beep, 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 and it just explodes. There's basic lances too. There's a skill with the lances, you can throw it up and the lances shatter and just rain down like explosive lances on top of the enemies.
That's sick.
There's additional things with the blast slings, which are the bombs that you shoot before. So now you have bouncy bombs, and they bounce on the ground until they hit. So if you're not as good of an aim, like, and you shoot over the enemies, now you can like bounce the bombs at the enemies. There's focus shots that you can use that you can shoot like triple shot arrows now. So you shoot like 3 arrows at a time in a spread. There's all sorts of additional like elemental status effects. So those were in the first game, but they've added more. Now they have like acid and other stuff, kind of like with the melee where you hit the guys and it builds up energy. You can shoot an enemy with these arrows and it adds that energy, and the more you damage them, it like builds a meter. And then when the circle runs out, it does like a huge amount of damage to the enemies. And there's more traps too, and they've really just fleshed out the combat. They really haven't taken anything away. They've just taken the fun combat and just kind of added more to your arsenal and let you play in the way that you want. And that goes in with your weapons and your armor too.
Might get passed on to some more questions. Anyone else got any?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I have a question, and you might need to sell me on like both Horizon games because I haven't played the first one. I own it, PS Plus or sale something. I have it. I just haven't jumped into it, and I'm hearing a lot of great things about the second one. But for me, my biggest worry is that I don't connect with every open world game. It's not like I don't like the genre. I love some like Spider-Man games, um, Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight, Steven. Arkham Knight is a good open world game, but there's some like for example, GTA 4, 5. I've played both of them. I unlock as much as I can, and then I run around the sandbox, and then I inevitably put it down without finishing the story. A recent one I tried. I know this might be sacrilegious for some people, but Ghost of Tsushima. I got the director's cut because I never played it on PS4. I booted it up. It's gorgeous. And I just look at that map and I'm like, I don't know. Do I want to ride a horse over there and take over a camp to get resources that I don't know. It wasn't pulling me through. I'm sure I'll go back to it, but
2
with
is so
Horizon,
good.
what is pulling you through? Is this something that like if you think the world is beautiful, you'll enjoy the game, or is like a strong narrative pulling you through with side quests that are optional?
There's a hugely strong narrative coming into this game out of the last game, and I don't want to ruin the plot because it is a very
spoilers?
very cool sci-fi story. One of the most original sci-fi stories in video games that I've played. And they take that and they run with it in some really cool ways in Forbidden West. So there is a cool narrative. One of the things that I will mention about Forbidden West is I think they really step up the game in terms of the side quests in this game. The side quests in this game remind me of the side quests in The Witcher 3.
Oh, okay.
Because they're not just like, hey, go over here and pick me up this thing and bring it back. I mean, they're usually like multi-step side quests. As you're going through, they'll send you over here and then you'll be like, oh, well, what's this? I don't know, but this changes the whole direction of where you think this quest is going, and now you have to go over here, and maybe you have to, and they usually involve any number of like combat encounters plus puzzle solving, and the puzzles are all really genuinely pretty unique in terms of like traversal and what you need to do to get through it, and like find an item. And there's a really good diverse group of side objectives in the game, that are pretty appealing. So it's not just hunting enemies. There's races. You can race on your mount against enemies. There's these they call them not relics. They're just basically like puzzle, not really even dungeons, but they're just like ancient buildings from long ago. This game takes place in the far future. It's kind of a post-apocalyptic game, if you will. But you'll find these like ancient facilities and stuff, and making your way through them and figuring out what you need to do. It's not necessarily combat based, but it's all just figuring out, puzzling through and doing platforming. There's a
I love some
whole
good puzzle solving in a game, so that definitely has me interested.
yeah. I didn't delve into it much, but there's also a whole like it's almost like Gwent mixed with chess, a mini game called Machine Strike. And a lot of
Okay.
people have been enjoying that and dumping a lot of hours into that. That wasn't, I didn't even get into Gwent in The Witcher. That wasn't like why I was there. So I didn't dump a lot of time into that, but it is pretty cool from what I saw.
Can you go into
and
that game a little more? Because this is the first I've heard of there
Yeah,
being
I haven't
like
heard anyone talk about this.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, so Strike, you are introduced to it like basically immediately upon starting the game. The very first kind of like central hub area you come to, you meet somebody that teaches you how to play Strike, and they give you a couple of pieces to play with. So you get like these chess pieces, and they're all basically the machines in the world, and they all have like an attack stat and like a number of life points, and then they get, depending on what type of machine it is, the board is laid out so that the individual squares are different types of terrain. So they might be rock, they might be grassland, they might be forest, and different the different pieces have different attribute buffs depending on when you're standing in, different zones of that
Huh.
board. And
Okay.
so it's very much like chess where, you go back and forth between the players making moves and then trying to attack their pieces. Um, it is very strategic. Even on the beginner board, I got like taken out like 4 or 5 times just trying to get there's a trophy. You have to win 2 matches against 2 different people. And yeah, it took me a fair bit of time just to do that. But if you really want to invest in it, it's there. You can buy more pieces of more advanced machines as you go around the world and start your collection. You can customize your loadout, um, your set for what you want to play against other people, and yeah, you can sink a lot of time into it that way.
That's cool.
I'm gonna make my last question this one. My biggest criticism of the first game is that the pre-apocalyptic characters that you get introduced to, learn about, all that sort of stuff. That's like the interesting storyline, and I cared zero about every single person that was in the where the game is currently.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a single character that I cared about. Because it is a game with a lot of dialogue and stuff, do you get that attachment in this game that I don't
Absolutely.
think you did in the last one?
Yeah, and so think about, I don't want to spoil things, but there are events in this game that require you to assemble a team. And so think about Mass
Suicide
Effect
Mission?
2.
Yeah,
Think about
yeah.
Mass Effect 2
That's
where
what
you
I'm
have to
thinking.
assemble your team. There's a lot of that going on here, and you do assemble a core team to help you by the end of the game. Aloy is very much like a lone wolf. She's almost very dislikable at the beginning of the game because she's really pushing back against the people that are trying to help her. Like, no, I need to do this alone. This is my quest. I can't put this on you. This is my struggle. But slowly throughout the game, she kind of starts to realize that I can't do this alone. I need some support. And she starts to let people in and she starts to soften up a little bit. And you see a big change in her from the beginning of the game to the end. And it all leads up to just the ending really stuck the landing for me in the best way possible. It does kind of leave it open for a third game, um, which, some people may or may not like, but you definitely feel and there are just like in Mass Effect, there are kind of what do they call those missions where you have to like do a mission
Like,
just for your
like pretty much relationship building
right,
missions, or
right,
like,
yeah. There are those kind of missions where you do those missions just for your team members
yeah,
and
that's
kind of
cool.
strengthen your relationships. And the
Yeah, I like
cool
that.
thing that I really do like about this game, I mentioned The Witcher 3, is depending on the actions that you take around the world, as you interact with other people, those actions come back up in conversation.
Okay, I like
Whereas
that.
if like for instance, I was walking up to challenge this lady that lived up at the top of this mountain for a arena combat. And on your way there you find this village and it's like there's a mudslide that happened and you have to help them out, like find the people that get like lost in the mudslide. So when you finally make your way up to the top to talk to this lady, you can reference the fact that there's this mudslide that happened down the hill, and she's like, "Oh, really? Oh, well, those are some good people down there. I hope that you were able to help them." And you're like, "Yes, actually, I, was able to find this person, and we did that." She's like, "Oh, well, thank you for helping them." They didn't have to say anything about that in that game on the way, but the fact that you did that, and the fact that it like feeds into your actions, feed into the conversations, and even like when you go talk to somebody else, so like mention like, "Hey, I heard you did this over there. Yeah, thanks for helping those guys out," and it really makes the world feel
Fills it
more
out.
alive and like your actions actually mean something.
All
Nice.
right, I
So
like that. All right,
yeah.
boys, let's move on to see who's buying. Steven, how are you feeling?
Yeah, like I'm definitely in. Like I think Zero Dawn is a great game. And I could see that it had potential to be like a phenomenal game. Like if it if it just developed, like, especially obviously came out so close to Breath of the Wild, the climbing was my biggest gripe, and I've heard that there's a lot more accessibility to come at situations, in better way, in more different ways. So like that's a big thing for me, and like obviously a glider, gotta have a glider.
The
in an
shield
open world
wing,
game.
the shield wing is which is your glider. You get it right at the beginning of the game, and
that's
it
awesome.
adds to the traversal so much.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I won't get it on PS4. I'm gonna wait till my PS5 just so I can see it in all its glory. Yeah. But yeah, I'm definitely in when I get my PS5.
Okay. Chris, how you feeling?
Yeah, sounds great. Like I said, he's kind of selling me on two games here because I haven't jumped in that first one yet. But what really stood out was, I mean, high praise, saying it's one of the best sci-fi games, period, or sci-fi stories, period, of video games. That's pretty interesting because from what I know about the game, which isn't much, I didn't even think about it as sci-fi. I know there's like robot animals, whatever. I don't know. I know nothing about it, but it looked much more like primal jungle to me than straight sci-fi. So that has me intrigued. And throwing some puzzle solving and some more purpose to some of the open world side mission stuff because I'm feeling that open world fatigue, but when it's good, it's good. If there's enough there, it'll definitely pull me through, and it sounds like there is. So yeah, I'm into it. I mean, I got a PS5. I gotta, I have to play this game, right?
It's one of the better games on the system, I'd say. It's no
Awesome.
Elden Ring, but it's okay.
So I'm kind of in Chris's boat. I put maybe 10, 15 hours into the first one, and then I put it down because I tried to do the Elden Ring thing where it's like, let's just go run out and explore, and then I got stuck because there were like T-Rexes and I couldn't even scratch them. So I ended up putting the game down. But I mean, I might have to either watch like Horizon Zero Dawn in like 15, 20 minutes and then pick up this game, or play through it again. We'll see. But dude, you freaking sold me. I do want to give this game a shot, especially since it's got melee combat, because that was like my biggest thing. I do love having the bow and being able to attack from a distance, but you kind of feel vulnerable in the first one when they get too close. So I'm excited that I can just be like, okay, boom, 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 dodge out of the way, and then get that distance again. So yeah, I think I'll give it a shot.
It's a lot better. There's like a lot of Sony games too. Recently, there's just a huge set of accessibility options in this game, so you can really tune it to your playstyle and your kind of difficulty, how you want it. So that's also really been really cool. Like in the old game, you had to like shoot off a fart specifically to collect it. In this game, there's an option called easy loot. So you just have to kill the machine and you get all the loot, which is cool.
Shoot off a what now?
Yeah, I
Shoot
know.
off
I thought I heard fart too. Yeah.
Definitely what I heard. Like, wait, not the game I thought it was, but now I'm sold for sure.
All right. Well, I think that's 3 cells, maybe 4, since Chris is thinking about getting into Zero Dawn. So nicely done,
2
Wes.
games to play.
All right, cool. Well, that's going to end the pitch section, and we're going to run right into the game. Well, we are down to 2 players for the game. We are going to be doing.
That means I won the debate, right? He knows he lost, so he left.
Yeah, that's why.
I think
that's why.
I think that's exactly what it means. Yeah.
Right.
We're going to be doing video game 20 questions. It's a game we play a lot here, but just to go over the rules real quickly, you guys have 20 yes or no questions. I'm thinking of a game, and you ask 20 yes or no questions, and based on those questions, you have 1 guess to guess what the game is. If you try to take the guess, you get it wrong, then you lose the game. So you want to make sure you really have it narrowed down. Normally we would play like a speed version of this, but since Steven jumped out, I think we'll make it easier. We'll do the regular version.
Nah, let's keep the speed version in. I love it.
You want to do the speed
Yeah,
version?
pure chaos, baby. Chaos.
Are we alternating
Okay.
questions? Is that how it works?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
alternating questions back and forth
Okay.
between you and Jonah. I'll give you guys a 1-minute break every 7 questions. And you have 20 seconds to ask a question. If you don't ask a question within 20 seconds, you forfeit the question and it goes to the next person. Make
Okay.
sense?
Yep.
We'll let Jonah start since he's played before, and then jump to you.
All right.
Are you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ready, set, go.
Is this an open world game?
No.
Was the game released after the year 2000?
No.
Oh. Is
Jonah.
this an RPG?
No.
Oh.
Chris.
Is this playable on... Was it released on a Nintendo console originally?
No. Jonah.
Is this a PlayStation game?
It's not a...
Is it on PlayStation?
It came out on a PlayStation console, yes. Chris.
Is this a first game in a franchise?
No. Jonah.
Geez. Not an RPG. How many questions are we at? 6?
Yeah, this is your 7th.
Does this game have co-op?
It has multiplayer. That's 7. And so
Was it a-
you guys can take 1 minute to discuss.
I didn't do mine. Oh, 7
it's
total.
7.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm
How do you-
thinking Grand Theft Auto
Oh.
2. I'm not too specific right now, but I think that still fits all of our clues so far.
Yeah.
I'm curious what console generation we're looking at, because not on PlayStation, but not on Nintendo.
Wait, Jonah, didn't you ask if it was open world?
I did
already?
ask. If it
Oh,
was
not open world, right? Okay. Thank you for helping us.
Dang it, dude.
Gracious host.
Just
Not
want to
open
clarify
world.
that.
Oh
No,
yeah,
there's,
you would have sent me off on the Grand Theft
What's-
Auto.
Racing sports games. I'm trying to think of what's not on Nintendo. That's what's interesting to me. Because I want to narrow down the generation. I think is my goal next. Because before 2000,
Yeah,
it's got to be.
it can't be the Dreamcast. I was thinking of the
Okay.
Dreamcast.
What was
That's
PS?
that's 1 minute.
It's you.
So,
Was this?
Okay, go ahead.
Was it originally released on the PS1?
Nope. Jonah.
What would it have been released on then? Because Xbox wasn't around. Oh, it could have been on. Is this a Sega game?
It is not a Sega published game. And that's not a yes or no. No, I guess no. Chris.
Was it released on PS2?
Yes.
Okay, that gives us an exact year.
When did the PS2 come
Jonah.
out? I thought it came out after 2000.
Point of clarity. You said originally released.
Oh. Is this a platformer?
No. Chris.
Was this game released in the year 2000?
Yes. Jonah.
I think
Are-
it's PS2 launch year.
Are there? Is this a shooter?
No. Chris.
Is it a racing game?
No. That's 7. Give you guys another minute.
There are
On the clock,
people
go.
screaming right now.
I'm sure. Is my logic sound? This is a PS2 launch game, right?
Yeah.
PlayStation 2 launched in 2000?
It had to have, because yeah, I think so.
Not that I know the launch titles.
I don't either.
Not open world.
Not a shooter.
Not on Nintendo. So probably first party. We haven't asked if it made its way to Xbox. or for release on Xbox.
Wes,
Sounds like it's been
did I
remade
ask
since
if it
then.
was? I asked if it was a platform. What was the answer to that?
No.
No. Okay.
Spyro a platformer?
Yeah. Dude, I'm
Crash
so
Bandicoot's
lost.
platformer.
I was gonna say, I was thinking maybe like Jack and Daxter, but that's a platformer too.
I wonder if
10
it's a
seconds.
sports title.
No.
Did we ask that?
Yeah. Well, you
You
asked
asked.
for racing.
You asked if it was sports. Sorry, you asked racing.
Ash Racing. But it sounds like you just told me it's not
Okay,
sports too.
that's a minute.
Okay.
And sorry, who's up? Jonah?
It's me.
Okay, go ahead.
Is this an action adventure game?
No. Chris?
Has this game been remade?
No. Good question. Jonah?
Are there giant monsters in this game?
Are there giant monsters?
One might say Colossus.
No.
Oh
Chris,
boy.
three questions left.
Was this
Ugh.
a PlayStation exclusive?
No. Jonah?
Dude, I have no idea.
Not racing.
You have 2 questions left. I'm going to give you a hint. There's a theme to this episode. There's a definite theme to this
Oh my
episode of the podcast.
I almost asked if this was a superhero game.
A launch title? Superhero game?
I'm thinking it might be a Spider-Man game.
Ask your question.
Is this a Spider-Man game?
Not a Spider-Man game specifically.
Oh.
1 question left. Chris?
Oh my god.
You don't have to guess the game. We get to guess the game after this question.
Okay. Not a spider. Okay. Is this a? It's not an RPG. Is it a
Like a beat 'em up?
tactical game?
No, not a tactical game.
Okay.
That's the last question. You guys have 1 guess. I will give you 1 minute to deliberate between yourselves before you have to make your guess.
We never asked fighting, right?
I'm thinking. Oh my god!
Marvel vs. Capcom.
It could be Marvel vs. Capcom or Marvel Ultimate Alliance, but I think that came out on the 360. So I'm thinking it might be Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
That's what I'm thinking because that was not on the GameCube.
Okay. Go ahead.
Are you ready to make your guess?
Yep. Go ahead, Chris.
Go ahead.
Was that at launch?
Just
Is the game Marvel vs. Capcom 2?
It is Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Yes! Hell yeah!
Oh,
Woo, we pulled that out at the end. Holy
So-
my
cow!
god!
So
I was
just
like,
to be
what could
clear-
this
MVC2 was not a launch title. I don't know where you guys got on the launch title thing.
be?
Because it released in 2000.
Didn't the
On the Dreamcast in 2000 on the Dreamcast
oh
and in
'Cause,
arcade.
yeah, I thought PS2 was like 01. I didn't think it was
me
2000,
too.
but logically, I was narrowing it
It came
down.
later to PlayStation 2.
Gotcha.
Okay. You made it a point to say it initially. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. We got there. We got there.
PlayStation 2 released in 2002.
2002,
Okay, I was like, that's
That makes-
way
that
too
makes more sense.
early for the.
I was like,
the
how was it a PlayStation game in 2000? Okay.
Oh,
Well,
whatever.
man.
We got there.
You guys pulled it out. It
Task
was,
failed successfully.
I know he just kept saying no, 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 and I was like, "What is this game?"
Well, you got there in the end. That's all that matters.
That's all that
So,
matters.
yeah. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. I'd like to thank Chris for joining us today. It was a pleasure to have you, and
Absolutely.
thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I loved being on. Thanks for having me. This was an absolute blast. I will gladly debate again in the future if the
Woo.
Man,
spots
you did a
ever
heck
open
of a
again, so
job in the debate.
Thank you.
It's gonna be tough to come over that for Steven. But anyway, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Well, of course, the podcast, Best of the Rest, it's available wherever you get your podcasts. Again, if you like superhero movies, which is 99% of the population, give it a shot. Scroll through our episodes. Find a title of a movie that you've seen before and you maybe liked it and think it's underrated, or you hated it and you're curious how we can possibly praise it. I mean, we covered The Spirit, if you remember that
I
movie.
don't.
So we Spirit, Hulk, uh X-Men Origins, Wolverine we've covered. Aldar, there's an episode that you can jump into and see what we're all about. So I ask that you please do that. Best of the Rest podcast. That's all I want to plug. You can, through that podcast, you can find me on Twitter and all that good stuff. I'm in the Great Games Debate Discord. Say hi to me there. But yeah, check out my show. I just really appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, check it out. Jonah, you have anything to plug or any housekeeping?
I do indeed. And if you've been watching the video version, you've seen this super comfy, super stylish Great Game Debate podcast logo shirt that you can get on Redbubble. Big shout out to Hunter Pearson, friend of the show, friend of the Discord, mod of the Discord, amazing human being. He designed our new logo. It's awesome. I love it. And we get to put it on t-shirts. And the fun thing about all of the proceeds that we're getting from our merch is it's all going back into the Discord community. So if you'd like to get a shirt, get a shirt. We really just want to see the GGD out in the wild. We want to see people wearing the shirts. We want to see the posts on Twitter and whatnot. I don't care about the money. I want to do giveaways mainly. What we're doing the merch for, but
And it's a super cool logo. It's just an awesome design to wear.
It is. It's an excellent design. Like my wife even, like I got those stickers you sent me, and my wife even took some. She's like, I think I'll put one of these. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, it's a cool looking logo. I'm like, that's pretty awesome. 'Cause my wife is not into video games at all. But yeah.
It's kind of hard to see, but the joystick on the arcade cabinet is our mic. That's our podium to debate to. So there's that, and then one last thing is we got Game Club next month, and I just remembered I need to start playing the game so I can talk about it with you guys. I need to put Elden Ring to the side, but we will be playing Chicory, A Colorful Tale. Wes, what was the date for the conversation?
I believe we set on April 3rd. The afternoon of April 3rd is when we'll have the Chicory discussion. It shouldn't be too hard to push aside Elden Ring. Chicory is clearly the better game in this instance. So, just shove aside that Elden Ring garbage and jump into Chicory and come join us in the discussion.
But yeah, that's it. And Caden, we miss you. Come back to us, please.
Yeah, nobody needs this trash host that we've had over the last four episodes.
Wes,
so,
Wes,
yeah, Caden, please come back.
I love you to pieces. I miss talking to my boy, and now I can talk to him about Souls games.
I'm just joking. Hopefully, Caden will be back with us in the next episode. He's finished his move now, and hopefully he'll be in a good place for jumping back with I cannot speak. Obviously, we are at the end of the show. Hopefully, he'll be good to jump back in with us on the next episode. For my final word, I like to always give some useless video game trivia. So normally I give it at the top of the show. Hosting, it's a little bit harder, so I'll give it at the end of the show. So since we're in comic book video game land, let's talk a little bit about Spider-Man trivia. So in the PS4 Spider-Man game, 2018, when they were coming up with the script in that game, Marvel kept pushing back on the script. Insomniac, for some reason, kept including the word balls in for either Spider-Man or Mary Jane, and Marvel were absolutely insistent that Spider-Man and Mary Jane cannot say the word balls. Absolutely not going to happen. A cool point that you may not know about that game also is that in a lot of cases they did 2 recordings for Spider-Man in the open world, whether he was either resting or whether he was web slinging. And if he was web slinging, he gave the voice delivery in kind of like a more strenuous kind of tone. than if he was just resting or, sitting on a ledge or something, which I thought was very, very cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, and then one more little piece of fun trivia in Spider-Man 2, the famous PS2 Spider-Man game. There's a code you could put in to play through the game as Mary Jane, and you could technically rescue yourself at the end of the game because Mary Jane rescuing Mary Jane. And apparently at the end of the game, there is a scene where Spider-Man normally kisses Mary Jane. Well, if you put that code in, apparently Mary Jane just kisses herself at the end of the game, which I thought was
Making
weird.
little boys' dreams come true.
It was weird and funny.
Look at that.
So, yeah. So there you go. There's your useless Spider-Man game trivia. Thanks again for joining us. If you like what you've heard, please give us a subscribe. Give us a review on Apple or on Spotify. It helps a lot. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate it. Until next time, take care. Bye.
As always, a big thank you to our friend Misdriven for the music in our podcast. If you like what you hear and you want to check out more of what they have, you can pay them a visit on Twitter at MISTRIVEN719 or on Bandcamp at Misdriven. Thanks again for tuning in. Till next time.
All right, guys. I am ready to go whenever you guys are.
Jonah, do you want to pitch first? Just so you know, or do you want me to pitch first?
I don't care. You want me to outshine Forbidden One? I'm sorry.
Well, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Just say Elden Ring is the Michael Jordan of 2022 games.